Today I'm joined by Ben G, who is the founder of Hat and Home, the estate agency chain from the Reading area, very well known in the industry. He's here to tell me his estate agency story. Thanks for joining me today, Ben.
Thanks for inviting me, Chris. Nice to be here.
Pleasure, pleasure. I want to go back in time to your formative years when you were a child. Tell me a bit about your upbringing as a child. Family, any siblings, that sort of thing.
Okay, so I've got a brother and a sister. I was born in London, in Chiswick in West London. Moved out to the Reading area, a place called Camberley, where I was brought up. Hated school with a passion. Didn't get on with any of the teachers. Didn't really get on with any of the kids, to be honest. Went off to university and then left 2 years after doing a 3-year course out of my arrogance, thinking that I knew it all already and didn't need to be told what or how to do something anymore.
Where did the arrogance come from?
Where did the arrogance come from? I think I just like doing things really well.
Are you a perfectionist?
I'm 100% a perfectionist. I won't do anything unless it's done really, really well.
Okay. You know that's a mental condition, don't you?
Well, then I will take it as a mental condition I need help for.
Where do you think that perfectionism came from?
I guess from my father. He's like that. He likes to do things absolutely
What
brilliantly.
line of business is your father in then?
He used to be in sales. He's retired now.
Normally salespeople aren't perfectionists. It's more really the detail orientated.
In my experience of salespeople, they leave a trail of destruction behind them. I'm one of those people who doesn't leave a trail of destruction. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm one of the rare few. But in my experience, the best salespeople, and especially when you're in a sales job, you've got to accept that they're going to leave that trail of destruction.
Would you say that, and I don't know if we haven't talked about this, but would you say there's some form of ADHD or something that probably none diagnosed? And I know we're going to come on and talk about your Parkinson's in a bit, but normally perfectionism in a estate agency, there seems to be more often than not some kind of ADHD there. And before, I just want to say for the record is that I actually see that as an advantage, not a disadvantage.
I haven't been diagnosed, so I don't think so.
No, but let's be honest, most people who've got it haven't been diagnosed, have they?
There's definitely, I take everything to a cliff edge. So if I work the hardest you could possibly work. If I do anything, I'll take it as far as I can take it to make it the best I can make it.
Yeah, okay, but there's a difference between working hard and being a perfectionist.
I do both. Maybe I work hard because I'm a perfectionist.
Where does your work ethic come from?
Definitely my dad.
Okay,
Definitely.
So what did your mum teach you then?
Resilience. The importance of looking after each other.
The softer skills.
Yeah, I guess so.
If I asked your team, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, if there's one thing you could change about them, what would it be? This perfectionism? I mean, are you hard at it? Are you hard on your team?
I demand a lot from my team, but I don't think they'd change that about me because I think they realise that actually it means that we get good results off the back of it. I think if they could change anything about me, it would probably not that I'm not to go 100 miles an hour all of the time, to slow down sometimes.
How old are you now?
I'm 45.
You're 45.
Yeah.
Let's come back to your childhood. As you were growing up, did you know what you wanted to be apart from a train driver or a rocket scientist or a spaceman?
Once I hit my teenage years, I wanted to be a lighting designer for TV and theatre. So that's what I went to do for my university course, to technical theatre. So went off and did that.
Where the hell did you get that idea from?
I don't know. Maybe I've seen a concert or something, thought that looks like fun. I always wanted to do something creative. I wasn't very academic, so I didn't do brilliantly at school.
So you went to university. Which one?
Aberystwyth.
Oh,
West
right.
Wales.
Okay, middle of nowhere then.
Absolutely.
Okay. There's some Welsh jokes there, but I won't. You left university after 2 years because you thought with the intention of going into studio lighting?
No, I'd had enough by then. I went there, realised it wasn't for me. I thought I knew everything there was to know about it, and actually I realised there was no money in it, Chris. It was a brilliant fun. I loved it, absolutely loved it, but it was just not what I wanted to do.
What did your parents say when you flunked out of uni?
They were fine. I think by then our relationship with my parents had probably got to a stage where they knew that I was quite independent and I was going to do what I wanted to do regardless of what they said anyway. So I left and I went into catering of all things. So I
Catering?
went to run a restaurant for a few years.
Okay. Have you always had the beard? Because you've got a beard for it, haven't you? You know.
The beard's only 2 years old.
Is it?
3 years old now. Yeah.
Magnificent.
The beard's a hat and home thing. Well cultivated.
It's bloody lovely.
Thank you. It gets oiled every other day.
I wouldn't expect it. So you're in catering, which, to be honest with you, if there's one thing I've learned is that people who are in hospitality make great estate agents.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Absolutely fantastic, because they can take the shit and also grin through it and actually get the work done.
Hospitality and the airline industry
Oh,
are
bang
two brilliant places to get people from.
Of course, you coming from around the Reading area, you're going to have lots of aircraft, aren't you?
Yeah, and we've got a couple of people who are ex-BA who work for us who are absolutely fantastic.
Okay, so how long were you in catering before you? I mean,
Probably 3 or 4 years. It's actually how I got into estate agency.
go on.
Weirdly, because we were running a function for somebody who owned an estate agency, and I leaned over to that person and said, "Look, what qualifications do I need to get into a estate agency?" Thank God they said absolutely none. They said, "All you need to do."
Tell me you're a comedian.
Yeah, that's not going to change for a while either, is it? So I said, what qualifications you need? They said, absolutely none. You need to come and see me Monday morning. I went to see him Monday morning, and that was my first job in a estate agency.
And where was that then?
Romans.
Interesting. So what? That was 2002.
Yeah, that was back in early 2000s.
So was Ian White and
Ian
Kevin
White,
there?
yeah, Ian Vince was there, and so it was Dale that was running it still at the time with Pete.
Now, at the time, they ran a really sharp operation, didn't they?
Yeah, very, very sales driven, very sharp, very customer focused. Great environment to start your career in.
And were you in the branch or at the head office at Crowthorne?
Oh, yeah. So it was their head office at Winnish at the time before they moved to Crowthorne. I was in branch. I started in the Bracknell branch, which was their flagship at the time. Moved over to the Wokingham branch before I moved on.
What? Just when I say negotiating, were you valuing or
No, I'd done a few valuations by the time I left, but I was purely learning to be a negotiator and loved it. Loved every minute. It was a great business to work for.
A couple of years later, you moved to Foxtons.
Yeah.
You went back to London.
Yeah.
Did you go back to Chiswick?
Yes, I did actually.
Okay, because I noticed you said you came from Chiswick. So what made you go back to W4 then?
I was selling a house when I was at Romans to a guy who worked for Foxtons, and he said, "You should come up to London and be an estate agent." He said, "It's very different, but you should do it." So I went, okay, well, he got me an interview. And I didn't know at the time, they do, Foxtons, I think they probably still do group interviews. So I trundled off thinking I've got my one-on-one interview in my little briefcase back then. Got in there and there's a room full of like 40 people. And at the time, it's back early 2000, 2004, something like that, Foxtons would hire 20, 30 people on the night. And you got a group interview, you did a round robin, go and meet some people. And then you got 2 minutes with one of the directors. And I remember I had 2 minutes with a guy called Chris Constantino, fabulous guy. And they offered me the job and said, "You've got to start Monday." I'm like, what? Yeah, you've got to start Monday. I'm living in Wokingham at the time, and I had to start in Chiswick that Monday. So
Were you
I
with
did.
Jackie at the time or?
No, I met Jackie in my first month at Fox, and she's one of my applicants. She came looking for a property. Always be closing, Chris. Always be closing.
Yeah.
And then we've been together ever since.
How did Romans take it, the fact that you had to leaving almost straight away?
Not brilliantly, but I still talk to them, so it's water under the bridge now, hopefully.
What did you like about working for Foxtons for a few years?
Oh, it's such a culture.
Because
I mean,
this was 03, 04, 05, so this is still pure good Foxtons. It's not, don't get me wrong, guys brought them back last year, and I will give that.
Yeah.
I assume Pete was around at the time.
Pete was around.
Pete.
John was still running it. John would still come into your offices in the morning, surprise visits. It was pure, driven for the clients. We would go to war for our clients. That was the mantra back then. And you did, and you were part of people talk about a cult. It was to a degree, but we knew what we were, and our clients knew what we were. And not everybody loved it. It was aggressive. It was 8 till 8 every day. They brought in Sunday working as well for the new guys on board. It was hardcore. You'd drive around your Mini, run around London, but you got rewarded. You did well, and you got a new car. You got trips. You got great money. It was a fabulous time, but it was hard work. I did it for 4 or 5 years.
What did it teach you working at Foxtons in the good times?
How to be a salesperson, a proper salesperson.
What do you mean by that?
The tricks of the trade. I learned not to just show property. I learned not to just go out and take a set of keys and show people. I learned about taking the extra set of keys in your pocket for the wild card property that they couldn't afford, but you knew they'd love, and just drive them to it. You know, I learned about how to take them back to the property they liked at the end of the tour again. I learned about tours. You know, you didn't just show one property, you showed 3, 4, 5 properties. I learned about qualifying people, about how to properly find out why they want to move, what they really want, what they wouldn't compromise on. You know, there's 5, 6 questions that I learned to qualify people that I still teach my guys today.
Go on.
You know, what will you pay for perfection? What's the best you've seen? Why are you moving? You know, it's these things that just keep coming back time and time again.
Go on. And what's some value? What the others?
Right. Okay. Fine.
Go on.
What will you pay for perfection? What won't you compromise on? How much will you pay for the right property? Why are you moving? When do you want to move by? So I learned how to be a proper salesperson. You know, how to influence a situation. You know, people are looking for perfection, and that's a problem because perfection doesn't exist. So what will happen is if you allow them to just always find the problem with the property you're showing them, they'll carry on looking forever until the market comes away from them and they can't afford what they want anyway. So you've got to be able to say to people, this is the best you've seen. Yes, it might only be 7 out of your 10 things on your list, but it's the best you've seen. The market's doing this. You need to buy it. And I'm giving you this advice because it's the right advice.
2005, you went to work for Marsh and Partners. So did you go with Pete then?
So Pete had already gone and bought Marsh and Parsons, and then I followed probably about 6 months later, something like that.
Was Pete a big driving force for you to go across?
Huge. You know, he's somebody I've got an awful lot of time for, an awful lot of respect for. Marsh and Parsons at the time when Pete and Lisa Jane bought it, along with Sherry Fitzgerald from Ireland, it was a sleepy but well-respected agency. They still have mahogany desks and, you know, and all that sort of jazz, but they had a good name. And I think there was 5 or 6 offices at the time. In the 6 months that they were there before I came across, they sort of were transforming it into a much more contemporary agency. But it was delivering service. It was all about service. You know, it was the tagline at the time was local know-how, better results. It was all about being a local agent in London and getting better results for our clients because of it.
Could you see that when Pete came across that he took the best parts of Foxtons, left the worst part and moulded it in with the Marsh and Parsons name?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair to say.
Yeah?
Took all the great things about reward and incentive and working hard and driving your colleagues around you. And it all being about individual performance, not team performance. And yeah, potentially left some of the things, the aggression, dare I say, behind.
You went through the ranks at Marsh and Partners. I mean, in 2008, we had obviously the global financial crash. How was that?
Tough.
What did you learn?
I learned how to make a market. There is a market at any time. You just have to educate people, you know, and we saw it go down very quickly, and we had to educate our clients about what they needed to do. And educate buyers about.
It came back quite quickly.
It came back very quickly. But there were lots of people that didn't react quick enough. You know, every market's there to be taken. It just, you know, you've got to make sure that you're training your people around you as to how to adapt to it.
So when was your first actual office that you took on?
So that would have been Bishop's Park. That would have been 2015, something like that, I guess.
Okay.
Like.
What mistakes did you make as a branch manager?
Oh, trying to do everything for my team.
Come back to being perfectionist.
Yeah, not giving them enough space to make their own mistakes.
Were you given any training on how to be a branch manager and leader?
I think, like a lot of estate agencies, you kind of train by seeing what the person before you did. I had a guy called Alex Lyle, who was my boss for a number of years, who was a very good estate agent, very good manager. So you learn from them. You know, there's some training that comes in and out, but does anybody sit you down and tell you how to be a branch manager? No. Not really.
Were you still valuing when you made branch manager, or was that left to the valuers?
No, still valuing. Yeah.
You're still valuing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you then went to Fulham?
Yep.
Were you still valuing then?
Yep.
I mean, you were down as it says on my notes here, as a director. Is that just a fancy title?
Yeah, classic estate agency fancy title. But it's not just fancy title. It was more than that because...
Senior director.
It empowers you.
Air Commodore.
You got to go to a breakfast every so often. But do you know what? It gave you an elevated position in the business. It certainly, you know, did it bring more out of me? Did it bring the best out of me? Yes, it did. But you know, it wasn't until a couple of years later that I was actually part of the management team.
Now, in 2017, so you were running a branch, a successful branch. money was coming in, you were having the time of your life. I'm assuming you were.
Yeah, it's great.
Everyone says the transition from valuer to manager is tough, but the big one is branch manager to area manager. I know area director.
Yeah, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Yeah. What mistakes did you make?
I loved it. So it is a tough transition, but I did love it because I like leading people. I think probably in those early days of my regional directorship, not spotting weaknesses quick enough and getting them out. And it's something that I don't do now. That idea that you leave somebody in the job that they're not good at or shouldn't be doing to see if they get better, or because it's too difficult a decision, or because you know it's difficult to recruit. That was probably what I learned in that first year, and I never made that mistake again. Which means that you can look ruthless sometimes, but it's actually not. It's for everybody's benefit.
Wasn't it around 2017, 2018 that Marsh and Partners got sold to LSL?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So Pete and the Fitzgeralds, I can't remember what's the name of the lady again.
And Lisa Jane.
Okay.
Yeah, Lisa Jane Kelly. Yeah.
They would have exited the business.
Yep.
What happened then?
LSL bought in a CEO, a chap called David Brown. Thoroughly nice guy. Still get on very well with him now. The business changed. You know, the Marsh and Parsons was driven by Pete, was driven by LJ, Lisa Jane, and a bit of that personality got lost. A lot of that personality got lost, actually. I think that's one of the problems with what happened to Marsh and Parsons since then. Actually, is it lost that drive for doing brilliantly for our clients.
It's quite obvious that, you know, let's be honest, Foxtons in the last 12, 18 months have been driven back up with regard to the field they're exuding. And also, I look at the stats because, you know, I'm a bit of a statty, by Guy Giddens coming back and really driving that one forward. Do you think it actually makes a massive difference who the CEO is and how it filters down the train?
I think it absolutely does, yeah. You need a leader of the business who drives culture and gives everybody a platform to succeed. And if you look at, you know, you've got Pete's back in the background of
yes, Pete is in the background. Yeah.
Guy's done a fabulous job. I've said that on many an occasion. Done a fabulous job because they brought the heart of Foxtons back. They know what they are again, and they're not ashamed to say it, and that's important. I think they got a bit soft, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And again, even if you weren't talking to Guy or Pete, you can tell by the way they're posted, the stuff's being posted, because again, you can feel that coming through the screen. There just seems to be like a warm glow.
Yeah.
And, you know, back to the old Foxes that we know, and some people don't love, but most.
But you know what they are. You may not love them, but you know what they are.
In 2020, though, you were diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yes. So that was a bit of a change for me, Chris.
Now, no doubt everyone has seen the video that you did. What was your motivation of doing that video?
For that video, awareness. I'm a huge advocate of making people more aware of what Parkinson's is now. You know, at the time of I was diagnosed, for instance, I was looking for another job. I didn't want to be in Marsh and Parsons anymore. And COVID was just about to sweep the world. So it was at the same time that COVID was happening in the February that I got diagnosed, and it was a complete shock out of the blue. And that gave me a totally different focus of what I wanted out of my life.
You were looking for a new job through leaving Marsh and Parsons. Was setting up your own agency an option at the time, or was the fact that you were diagnosed with Parkinson's meant that you thought I have to go somewhere else with this?
No, I always wanted to have my own agency.
Yes.
But there was, I guess there was always something that was holding me back. You know, I was married, 2 children, an awful lot of responsibilities. It's a big risk.
Well, let's.
So Parkinson's gave me, I had to kick up the arse I needed.
Has being diagnosed with Parkinson's given you a gift?
Yes. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Because without it, you might have still been at Marsh and Partners. I think it's Marsh and Partners, or you might have been at a similar other corporate, probably earning the big bucks, but not necessarily being happy.
Chris, Parkinson's it's one of those diseases that is, you know, you wouldn't wish it on anybody. It's a long-term illness. It's a degenerative neurological disease. It doesn't get any better.
Is there any history of it in your family?
Nothing in my family. There's nobody knows why it happens, and it's not hereditary. So There's no history of it. But it's not, dare I say, like a cancer where you either, have the threat of mortality, you might die, or you have to go through some horrific treatment. Neither of those things applies with Parkinson's. So you're suddenly given the opportunity to evaluate your life, get your bucket list together, make massive choices, but without death or treatment looming over you. And that is a gift. That is an absolute gift. And it's crazy when I say it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It really is.
Do you think you'd have started your own estate agency at the time you did without that diagnosis?
No.
Do you think you'd have probably made an excuse of, I'll just go somewhere else, earn a bit more money, put some money in the bank, then probably open one up in a few years' time?
Yeah, I was comfortable. I was good at my job. I was enjoying, working for other people. I had no problem with it. But yes, it absolutely drove me.
How did it affect Jackie, when you were diagnosed? Let's be honest, we've all watched that video, mate.
Yeah, she's.
Let's talk about the really important people here.
She's
You and the kids.
She's a strong woman.
And the curve.
She's a very, very strong woman. But she's very practical as well. So, we both set about finding out what the hell is this thing I've just been diagnosed with? What does it mean for us? And what does it mean for our future? Her biggest concern was the kids. How are the kids going to take it? And what does it mean for our future with the children? Because that's how she thinks. She thinks about the kids before anybody else.
So she's a mother first and a wife second.
100%. She's an incredible mother and an incredible wife, but she's an incredible mother. And our first thing was, how's this going to affect the kids? What does it mean?
How old were the kids at the time?
Gosh, so they would have been 11 and 8 at the time.
Okay. Now I watched the video, and again, people watching this, they can watch the video themselves. You came together with the Parkinson's. What's the name of the charity?
Parkinson's UK.
Parkinson's UK, and they gave you some age-related stuff, which I thought was absolutely spot on to help them. And the kids took it well.
Yeah, we told them immediately. We gave them these books that we were given by Parkinson's UK. We explained what we knew about it, and if they had any questions, they could talk to us. And then we got on with life, because that's all you can do.
Good for you.
But what was great is that both my kids wanted to start raising money. So my little boy, he was doing keepy uppies in the garden for 4 hours. That was his way of raising some money. It's amazing.
Now we're going to do a separate video about your charity work, so I'd like to save that for a standalone video. I want to just come back to setting up Hatton Home. Now, you've been open now, how many months? 36?
We are 3 years old on Friday.
So we're filming this in the middle of February. Okay, so you've been open 36 months.
Yep.
And you have 5 physical branches.
5 physical branches and a mortgage brokerage and a prime division.
What the fucking hell are you playing at?
I told you I don't like to hang around. I take everything to a cliff edge, Chris. I never wanted one branch. This isn't about...
Is this ego?
No, it's definitely not ego. Is
this about creating a legacy for your kids?
This is definitely, personally, from a business perspective, it's a legacy for my wife and children. It's a legacy for me.
Do you think you would have gone so fast? You said you would have started, so you probably would have never started, would you?
Potentially, no.
What would your message be to anyone who's watching this, who's on the fence saying, I'll do it next year, I'll wait till the time is more perfect?
There's got to be a reason for you doing it now. There's got to be a reason for you doing it now. It doesn't have to be a dramatic reason, but you can't, starting a business, especially in estate agency, you can't dip your toe in. You're either all in or you're all out.
If I had Jackie on the sofa here, if I asked Jackie, what was Ben like as a person the 6 months before he got diagnosed? And did you hand your notice in? Did you get diagnosed, then hand your notice in and go and open the branch?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's come back before you worried about your condition and before the tests. If I had Jackie here, would she say that that was a happy time for you, or you're putting a facade on?
Before I was diagnosed and before I changed...
That's 6 months before.
No, she would have said that I wasn't particularly happy. Because I was ready to do something else anyway.
Yeah, but you'd probably been carrying on or working for another corporate.
Somewhere else, but I wasn't happy where I was.
How was that making you feel?
When you're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you're driving to London every day, so I was living back out in Berkshire, you're driving to London every day and you're leading a team of over 100 people and you don't feel that the rest of the business or some of the business, the leadership of the business is in alignment with what you're trying to achieve, it's demoralising.
Did you feel like a fraud?
No, not like a fraud, because I knew that I was true to what I was doing.
Yeah, but how could you look your team in the eye if you did the senior management at Marsh and Partners have your back, or was it to you, or was it just a bit of both?
No, I think there was just what I felt a state agency was done well wasn't necessarily the same as the senior
What do you mean?
management.
It was all KPI driven, or
No, I just think you've got to make sure your customers are first, and I think you've got to develop your team. And to me, there wasn't enough emphasis on team. There wasn't, on development of the team, and wasn't enough emphasis on the customer.
because quite often training and development gets first thing that gets cut, and the last thing that always gets brought back.
Yeah.
Where was your first branch then?
In Wokingham.
Okay. And where did this hat idea come from?
The hat idea. So I was introduced to a brand guy, a fabulous guy that I still work with now, just to start talking about the brand and what it'd be called.
So that's just your logo, isn't it?
No, it's not just the logo.
Okay.
Chris, it's a hell of a lot more than just a logo. Thank you very much.
You know, don't worry. Come on, Ben.
Um,
I'm flowing your line here, mate.
what I knew I didn't want is I didn't want Benji and Partners. I didn't want Benji and Sons. I didn't want any of that. I didn't want my
Benji
name-
and Sons, I like it.
Sounds awful. I didn't want my name above the door, and I didn't want some masculine sort of war cry of whether it's called Vikings or marathons or whatever you call it, where it just sounds awful. I wanted it to mean something. So I was chatting through this guy, and we were talking about what's home, what's moving home. It's a place of safety. It's where you put down your hat, and he said, wherever you lay your hat, that's your home. And he came up with that. He said, obviously it's a terrible song by Paul Young as well, but he said, wherever you lay your hat, that's home. And I was saying, that's exactly what I want to get across.
Okay.
Wherever you lay your hat, it doesn't matter whether it's a studio or a mansion.
Okay.
That's home.
And why the bowler hat then?
Well, because the bowl hats, so we knew we wanted hat. So it was going to be called Hat and Home. The bowler hat is very traditional.
Yes.
It's service led. We felt it was a little bit masculine, a little bit fuddy duddy. So we softened it down with the door, with the light coming through it. But it shows traditional value. And we do have very traditional values of good service.
I can see from your website, and please do go and have a look at Ben's website. Very, very good. You can see that a designer's, yeah. It's not just the standard home, buy, sell, rent, and
No, and I think you have to put, when it comes to brand, you've got to make sure you're doing it properly, because it's got to say something about what you do as a business.
so you started the business by yourself. When did Luke Shondover come on board?
So Luke came on board as soon as we were opening the branch. So we were refurbishing it, and I had a chance meeting with him. And
Did you know each other then before?
No, I was introduced to him actually by David Brown, who was the ex-CEO of Marsh and Parsons. I wanted to find out a bit more about the local area and the agents in the area. He had been working in the industry for a competitor. We had a fabulous lunch, and during that lunch, he got thinking, I could work with this guy. And I was thinking, I've got to work with this guy. So I made him an offer to come on board. It took me a hell of a lot of persuading. We actually did the deal, as it were, on New Year's Eve in 2020.
Quite brave to bring someone in as a business partner that you've only just met.
Yes, but I know people, and I can tell whether I like somebody and whether they're fantastic in the first 5 minutes. I'm sure you can as well. And it's been the best decision. He's an exceptional estate agent and an exceptional leader of people.
What does Luke bring to the party that you don't?
Oh, he's got a way with people that you want to follow him. He's like the Pied Piper. You want to follow him.
Is he you're the driven person, and I can see that you're focused, but I think I could probably also see that you might wind some people up.
Yeah.
Okay. And is he like the cuddly?
No, he's not cuddly. He's definitely he would present a message differently to a team than I would sometimes, which would land better sometimes. He's got a great way with people. He's very numbers driven as well. But he's a great estate agent, and that's more important than anything to me, because like I was talking about, where the salesmanship, he teaches technique to his teams, to our teams.
And is that, you would find that a little bit not boring, but probably just
No,
you're more of a.
I've got other things to do, in the business.
Are you really bad at like the small detail?
I love small detail, huge love stuff, and I'm getting better at moving away from making.
Yeah. So how?
Yeah.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that you're either big picture macro or very, very micro, but the stuff in the middle, that's where Luke fills the gap?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's very rare to have fantastic micro and fantastic macro, and normally by the sounds of it, you're at the extremes.
I think I've created a culture that everybody knows that the micro stuff is important. Nothing leaves the door of the business unless it's absolutely right. And Luke absolutely embodies that as well. So he drives that through the team.
Okay, do you recognise the difference between perfectionism and excellence?
I think they go hand in hand, although I think
Perfectionism is where you get to 99% and beat yourself up because you missed the one, whilst excellence is we are aiming for perfect, but as long as we get it at excellent and we get it at 98 or 99, that's great. Let's be chuffed that we've got 90 out of 90 and not beat ourselves up on the other one. So it's a mental state.
I think being a perfectionist actually means you never actually hit perfection. Because
Yeah, but that screws up perfectionists.
And that's what keeps you driving. You know, I'm never somebody who says that'll be good enough. So no, I'd never get to 99% and say that's good enough. We will always do the extra bit that will take us to what I consider at that moment in time the best we can possibly do, which is my perfection at the time.
5 offices. How many you got in the team?
33 today.
How the hell have you grown that?
I've got an incredible bunch of people around me. So that's what's
All
grown the business.
self-financed?
Yep. So we opened an office in Wokingham. 9 months later, we opened an office in Crowthorne. You know, we're careful about where we open. We're careful about how we open, and we make sure we generate revenue quickly.
And how do you do it? Do you promote someone from an existing branch to become a branch manager, like a mini me?
We do more now than we did at the beginning. So when you're at the beginning, you know, 3 years ago, there was Luke and I. You know, you can't promote from within to do that. So we've now got a pool of people that we definitely do it. So our Sandhurst branch that we've just opened, our latest branch, and we promoted Marnie, who was a senior negotiator in Wokingham, to go and manage that branch and be the valuer there, which is great. I love doing that because it's a good culture.
Well, because they're already indoctrinated into the at-home way.
Yeah, exactly. They know how we do things. They're focused on the brand. They love the brand.
Would you have done anything differently in the last 3 years?
Oh, got a million things I would have done differently.
Go on.
Biggest mistake I made in the first 6 months, we had the wrong CRM. And we changed it 6 months after opening. That cost me a fortune, and it's absolutely the right move to make.
What have you got at the moment?
So we've now got Repeat,
Okay.
which I've got an awful lot of time for, because of the way that we prospect and the way that we manage our database.
Okay. What else have you done differently?
Oh God, I think I would have changed how I did our marketing in terms of marketing to people on the market earlier. It's taken me a long time to try and I don't think I've got it quite right yet. When we talk about touting, I hate the phrase touting, but I think we made lots and lots of mistakes about how we did that along the way.
What did you? Let's help the boys and girls out here.
I just think it's so easy to get into, or we did get into the routine of saying your agent hasn't sold it yet. We would have sold it by now, you know. And you think you've got a different message, or we did. We thought we flowered out with some fancy marketing, but actually, when we actually analysed it, we thought we've got that same old crap message as everybody else. Mm-hmm. So that definitely, you know, now we're led by a slightly different way on touting. You know, we talk about what we can do for them, but we talk about data. We talk, you know, give them examples of what's happening in their area, in their road. You know, a lot of the stuff you talk about, Chris. Do you know what I mean?
There you go. You know, talk about
maybe I should have watched one of your videos earlier in my career.
Well, you go.
So you know, mistakes on spending too much money. You know, on certain bits of a fit out, spending too much money, not too much money, overspending on potentially some team activities. But it's important to me, you know. It's important to me that I have this incentive and reward culture. You know,
is it all about paying the most, or
it's about no, definitely not just paying the most. I think people should be well rewarded for doing a great job, but only when they do a great job. And I think there needs to be some softer stuff there as well. You know, we've always got nights out go-karting. You know, we have a champions meeting, which is a monthly meeting where we do drinks afterwards and we celebrate success. We took to the Negotiator Awards back in November.
Yeah, you took a whole table, didn't you?
We took 3.
3?
I took 30 people. Took the entire team at the time.
Who was looking after the branch?
No, we sent them all up there in a limousine just beforehand. We closed 2 hours early. Don't often do that.
You must have had any cold sweats on that one.
Yeah, it was awful. But that's part of the culture of Hatton Home. Is we work
because
hard, we play hard.
You know, in 3 years you've won the UK's best medium estate agent.
Yeah.
In size.
Yeah.
And you won some other awards as well.
Yeah.
I think you won 5 at the last Esters, didn't you? Well done.
So
on
we've
that.
got, I think we've had 11 negotiators all in all. It's I've got some mixed feelings about award ceremonies.
Well,
and
we're going
awards,
to touch that in a separate video.
It's an amazing, I couldn't have done it without Luke and the team. It's as simple as that. It's all well and good having an idea. It's all well and good saying you want to be a great estate agent. It's all well and good saying you want to give good customer service. But unless everybody in your business is delivering on those promises, you're nothing. And you can go down the pan so easily.
What's the future for you?
Growth for the business, definitely growth. We want to make sure that we...
What, more branches?
Yes, definitely more branches.
Isn't it easier to grow what you have in your existing branches than open new ones?
Well, we'd like to do both, but I believe that people like to see a local office, and I think if you're embedded in that local community, then I think you're more likely to succeed. I think that growth could be by way of cold starts or acquisition. We want to develop our lettings book even greater than that's been a tough build over the last
Of course it is.
couple of years. Of course, want to develop that more. We're doing a lot more land in new homes now. So we want to take our proposition and develop it further. I'm not going to put a number on how many offices we have, because whilst there's an opportunity and we see a place in the market for us, we'll keep growing.
Personal question. Do you know how long you're going to be able to be working in the business day to day?
No, I don't.
Do you care?
I will go as
So
I won't go as long as I can.
That's probably not the right question, but does it matter?
Yes, it does matter. It matters to me and it matters to my family. What I'm not going to do is continue to work forever until I can't have any fun when I stop working. That's no good. Parkinson's drives decisions like that for me, because Parkinson's, most people get it a lot older than me, and you'll have a 10 to 15 year lifespan. Okay. So most people get it in their 70s. There's only 1,850 people in the UK with it under the age of 50, and I'm one of those. So, I find the physical challenges of it are becoming greater, but that means that I could still have 20 years to carry on like I'm going with no significant impact on, or it might be that in 5 years' time it's significantly worse, and I'll be driven. I'll be driven. That's why I've got a good team around me. It doesn't mean at the end of Hatton Home. It just means that I might have to slow down for one point. God, I hate the idea of slowing down.
What work 12 hours a day as opposed to 18 hours? And
God, 12 hours doesn't seem a lot, does it?
depends how hard you work, mate.
Yeah. Maybe I should think about how I'm working.
Maybe you ought to ease off on the perfectionism, mate.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Ben, thank you for your time today. It's been a fascinating insight to your life. I'd like to thank you for coming up to Grantham. We're going to do some separate videos on little topics, short, sharp stuff that we'll put on my YouTube channel. And I wish you well in the future. And it's been a pleasure talking to you about your story. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris.